I want to make sure we talk about the new changes with the NIL and you signing and you working with your work with Sportsman. So, kind of to set the scene, can you kind of explain? So, NIL name, image, likeness. Now you can profit off your name, your image, and your likeness. Can you explain to the person listening to this, like exactly how strict it was before these changes came into play?
So yeah, this is like one of the most groundbreaking major stories that's has been happening in the world of sports in many, many years. Like having the NIL decision go through is something that's definitely monumental and extraordinary for everybody, I think. But pretty much like for the average listener that's not really aware, like so before as a college athlete, let's say, you went to a big time school, you're playing, you're balling out, and let's say me, Patrice Rene, I, had a game, had 5 interceptions, went crazy, and somebody wanted to, buy my jersey in the store, like people would go out there, buy the jersey, and I would get nothing from it. Or people would go out there, spend the money, and I would never, like, you would not, as an athlete, you wouldn't be able to see none of that money come to you. Like, you're putting all those hours in, you're putting all that work in. At the end of the day, everybody's coming to see you perform. Like, the players are the ones that drive the system at the end of the day. Like, nothing happens without the players. And without us, like, the NCAA or major companies making profiting so much off the athletes, it was kind of like, well, what are we able to do? So we couldn't make money off of our name. We couldn't really use ourselves, our brands, and profit off that. So it was a lot of restrictions in terms of what you could and could not do. What you like, you couldn't accept free food anywhere. Like if you went to the store and was like, "Hey man, great game, this meal's on us," like you couldn't do that. You couldn't. It was just like crazy, crazy restrictions. Like it's a lot like you go into, but pretty much now with the new rule, it's like we're able to really just profit off our own name. It's not really going above and beyond, but it's really the value of yourself as a player. Like whatever you feel like you deserve, whatever you feel like you're valued or your worth is, you're able to finally, make some money off of it, which is great.
And so, if you'd broken the rules before, you would have lost your eligibility, been like suspended for a year or something like that.
But yeah, so if you end like, there was a whole list of what you couldn't do, and if you ended up, being caught doing those things, you would definitely lose game time. Sometimes a full year, sometimes a whole year, sometimes a career. So there has definitely been some major cases where we've seen things happen with major guys, with players, um, go down a path and have something happen and they lost their eligibility, they couldn't play anymore. I had to go pro earlier, this and that. So there was a lot of restrictions that made things a lot very difficult for guys to kind of make a living and help their families out or whatever the case may be.
No, for sure. I remember. So this is episode 150, and I think all the way back at the beginning of the podcast, it was like episode 18 or something like that. And I interviewed a Division One golfer, and we took a photo of my apartment. I have like a sign for the podcast. We took a photo with the sign that has the show name on it. And he called me after. He's like, "Hey, I talked to my school. Don't post that photo anywhere because like I could potentially lose my eligibility for taking a photo with you with this sign. And my podcast makes no money. No one's making money off of it at the time, but I still couldn't post it. So just how strict it was insane. And
Yeah.
so when did you start to hear that they might actually be changing these rules and you might be able to profit off your own name, image, and likeness?
So for me, it was actually my senior, my true senior year. They were talking about possibly having the NIL thing go through, and I was like, "Damn, like I'm not gonna be able to enjoy that because I'm about to, it's about to be my last year." So at first when I first heard of it, I was like, "All right," like I heard it was like going in 1 year out there. I was like, it was great for all the guys coming up, but it wasn't really gonna affect me, which just sucked. But I didn't really know what was going on. But then once I decided to come back to school, and it was actually full effect, and then the bus started getting there. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is a thing that's going to be able to be taking effect now." I was like, that's a whole completely game changer. Like now, for example, the game NCAA, like everybody used to play, like people used to buy the game to play for the players, but the players would never see none of that money. Like everybody would spend $60 on a game and play with you, and you'd be like, "Well, I'm the one playing. Like, what's the word with that? Like, you know what I mean?" It was kind of weird. Jersey sales, we know, going once again that. So all these little things that people profited on based off your performance, based off your hard work, based off your dedication, we're able to kind of take ownership of that now, and it's great.
And so when those changes came into effect, did you have like a meeting with the school? Like, did they kind of walk you through what this means now for you? Or was it kind of just like, hey, this change has happened and you're trying to figure it out on your own?
Almost. I mean, I know for us at Rutgers specifically, I can only speak for us and what we're doing. They do a really good job of just education. Like we've had meetings, they've had people come in, they've had mentors come in, advisors come in, just tell us what's going on and how to deal with it. Because I think it could definitely be a distraction for a lot of people. If you're trying to focus more on certain deals and this and that. But I think for us at Rutgers and what we're doing is, Coach Seattle, he does a really great job of just getting us the information that we need, making sure we're making the right decisions, making sure, we're listening to the right things, we have the right information, where we're able to go about things. And at the end of the day, the main thing stays the main thing, and that's football. Like that's the main message is like main thing must stay the main thing. Like you could go out there and try to seek out certain sponsorships, seek out certain opportunities, but if you're not balling, I mean, nobody wants to sign you. Nobody wants to give you opportunities. So definitely keeping the main thing. And I think that helps us stay grounded, helps us stay, focused on what we have to do and our goal at hand, and that's to win games and win the Big Ten championship. So for us, it wasn't just, hey, do whatever y'all want. Y'all can have freedom. There was definitely a lot of education. It's still an ongoing process. It's fairly new. Things are changing each and every day about it, different rules. So we're always up to date. And I'm there very grateful for Coach Shannon, what he's been doing and just making sure we have all the information we need, have lawyers come in. We've met with lawyers, advisors coming in, just basically just giving us the whole rundown so we're able to make the right decisions, not mess up, might not do the wrong thing, making sure, we go through the right process of everything, document everything to keep everything smooth.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but like with the rules right now, as a Canadian athlete, you are impacted differently by NIL, right? Like you can't work with American companies or something like that. Like what's the rule for guys like you?
Yeah, so for us, like for international students, so we're on a visa at the time. So still a lot of gray area because obviously just started and they're still working on it. But as of now, we're a little constrained in terms of the business we could do with these companies since we're on a visa, which means we're not on a working status, we're on a student status. So let's say we were to make a deal with an American company, IRS is going to want to take it. We'd have to pay taxes on that. There's have to be some type of thing to go on where it gets regulated. So in terms of that sense, things have to be paused. But at the end of the day, like being a Canadian citizen, again, a Canadian you know athlete, there's definitely opportunities that I could tap into back home, which opens a whole different playing field that a lot of guys in America don't have.
And so with being able to have a bunch of opportunity back home, that's what led to you. So you signed with Sportsman, right?
So yeah, really in a sense like signed, but also just being a part of Sportsman is the company that my friends and I started together. It's a marketing and branding firm that really and media really specifically that helps out, gives the platform to athletes, entertainers, influencers, icons, mainly from the city of Ottawa, Ontario, because that's where we started off. That's where we got brought up. But just allowing them to go out there and brand themselves, as an individual, not only as what they're doing, but go above and beyond that, giving opportunities to seek out deals or just to put your name out there and really capitalize on who you are and tell your story and things like that. So Sportsman is definitely something that we are very proud of, very excited about. It's up and coming and we're growing, starting to get the ball rolling on things. And really it's inclusive to, not just athletes, like I mentioned, but their various people, like musicians, whatever it may be, men, women, any type, age, gender, sex. There's no discrimination on anything, and we definitely have something special happening right here.
Talk to me a little bit more about, so you're starting with your friends, like you said, about kind of keeping the family close, for lack of a better word. You know what I mean? Like you're working with a startup agency as opposed to an agency that's been doing this for a while, which I think is super cool for you to kind of be involved from the ground floor and do it with your friends. Talk to me about how important it is to you to keep the family keep the family close in this situation while you build this agency.
It means the world. And I think with the NIL, especially with my situation, it kind of gave us that push that we kind of needed. Like, hey, like this is an opportunity that we could tap into. And there's, like I mentioned, we have a whole bunch of Canadian athletes that are playing at an elite level that would need this type of representation, would need this type of platform to have that opportunity to reach out those goals, to reach out those different places, and having those guys that I've grew up with coming together and being, creating something special that could actually, become bigger than we've ever imagined is amazing. And going against keeping the family close is kind of showing that, the type of guys that we are, the type of love that we have for something is genuine. It's genuine vibes, like it's genuine, authentic vibes. Like this is something that I putting my heart and soul into, that I know that my brother that I grew up with throughout the years is putting his heart and soul to as well. So it's definitely something that, we take pride in. And also like our roots is something that we're also very, very, very prideful about. Just being from Ottawa, Ontario, homegrown, with the talent that we have is something that we want to show the world. That's what we're doing here at Sportsman.
Which I think is really cool with kind of throwing back to you, because we talked throughout this entire podcast just how significant Ottawa has been to you. And we talk about how it's difficult for guys from Ottawa to kind of get their name out there. And not only are you helping to change that through your work on the field, but now the work you're doing off the field with Sportsman, you and the rest of the founders there, you're now having another impact on the community as well. Not just putting a name on the map, but also helping everyone else get established as well, which I think is super cool.
Oh yeah, most definitely. That's one thing that is like, for example, being able to get on this podcast like with you, like having this opportunity to tell my story, like it's all throughout the company, like out all through the guys, like setting that up, allowing guys to go out there and really just make the brand on themselves, like really just take advantage of all the opportunities that are there for us to take and really put Ottawa, not only Ottawa, but put yourself on the map, put your city on the map, and I think it's definitely special, homegrown, and you don't really have that. I don't think in Canada we have that opportunity. Like guys are always going back to the states to try to do things. Like why go down there when we can have it homegrown? Like why do this when we have it everything we need right in front of us? Like we're all together, we're all in this together. Like we can make it happen, and you guys are definitely going to see something special and a lot of different athletes coming through and just going out there and just building it and taking off.
And so, how great for you? Because we talked about keeping the main thing, and so now you have Sportsman to handle all the stuff with NIL and do all those deals for you, while you can keep the main thing the main thing. How important is that to you coming into your last season here in the NCAA?
It's definitely it's a great and it's a blessing, and it's like going back to just the family. I know that they get those guys have my back, and those guys I could trust them with everything. James Thomas, Harvin Loture, Yannick Hamuli, Jordy Wands, like those are my boys that I grew up with, and for me to just being able to go out there and just focus on what I have to do is playing ball, and them taking care of the all the marketing stuff, just helping me grow my brand as an entity, and helping me go out there and just opportunities and getting me out there and expose, and that exposure is just great. It's just reassuring, and we've kept everything very professional. That's one thing I really am excited about and proud about is it's not just for fun and games. Like this is a legit operation. This is like hours of meetings, concentration, making sure we have everything on point, like making sure this is something that we really are passionate about and that we really want to do, and it's happening, it's working, and to see it come to fruition is definitely special. So just keeping it in house and having it grow to where it's going to become in the next couple of years is very very exciting.
And so, speaking of it coming to fruition, what does the vision look like for the next, we'll say, 5 years for Sportsman? Like, where do you guys vision it being in the next half decade?
We really see ourselves at the top in terms of representing local talent, Canadian talent. I think we want to be a place where the top elite athletes, entertainers, storytellers, icons of the country could come here and really exploit themselves and really show themselves to the whole entire world and keep it at home. I think we're going to be a company that guys are going to want to be associated with. That hey, like look at this. Like I go out there, I'm knowing that this is a company that knows my story, that understands my story, that I can relate with, and it's not just an outsider thing. It's something that's close to home, and to help us grow and have these opportunities, put me on these platforms is something that's going to be very appealing to the masses. And once again, it's going back to the talent that we have. We're very very proud and confident of the talent that is in the city and of this country. Like it is crazy the amount of talent that's present in Ottawa and in Canada. So to have that opportunity to keep it homegrown and not go down south with things is just special. And I think we're definitely going to be at the top in terms of representation for athletes and entertainers across the country.